They don't get it. I mean, they just don't get it. It's one of two things here. They either don't understand the root of this frustration, or they understand it completely and they are trying to make it seem like you're the problem. Everything is your fault. I swear, people in the media, they have to be working off the same playbook. Doesn't matter the show, doesn't matter the talking doofus, they all repeat the same points. They all regurgitate the same mouth farts. You know, I'm starting to wonder why the mainstream media is so obsessed with Taylor Swift. Something weird seems to be going on here. There's something going on that we don't know about just yet. Seems like the mainstream media is colluding, trying to force us to accept the Swiffer. I've got a lot of respect for Charles Barkley. I refuse to watch ESPN's coverage of the NBA. I refuse to listen to Stephen A. Smith share fantasies about hitting 17 straight three-pointers in a scrimmage and receiving some scholarship to Woke U, the university known for churning out WNBA dump divers and pretend basketball players. ESPN's coverage of the NBA absolutely sucks. Hell, ESPN's coverage of sports in general sucks. But I do like TNT's coverage of the NBA. Inside the NBA is the best pre- and post-game show in sports. Charles Barkley is fantastic. He's entertaining. He's brutally honest. If the game they're covering is boring, Charles Barkley has no problem telling the audience, I slept through that bullshit. Charles Barkley has no problem sharing his unfiltered opinion. Problem is, Charles becomes Charlie and he gets to discussing topics where he has no idea what he's talking about. Maybe that's the reason his ratings on CNN are in the pooper. Over 1 million people sometimes will tune into TNT to listen to Charles Barkley talk about the NBA. He can't convince 500,000 people to watch him bloviate with Oprah's assistant on CNN. Wednesday night, Bob Costas, he was the special guest on Queen Charles. Pretty big guest, right? Anyone who grew up in the 90s already knows Bob Costas was one of the main voices of the NBA when the league was broadcast on NBC. Covered the NFL, he was the voice of the Olympics for a while. Bob Costas is someone else that isn't really afraid to speak his mind. Unfortunately, just like the rest of the mainstream media, Bobby and Charlie completely missed the point with Taylor Swiffer. Maybe they're like Travis. Maybe Bobby and Charlie aspire to be Swiffers themselves. With Bobby C joining the show Wednesday night, you would think that CNN would finally pop a decent rating. 402,000 viewers, least watched show in the short history of this dump. Matter of fact, last 2 weeks, Queen Charles has set record low ratings. 408,000 last week, 402,000 this week. If Charlie and Oprah's assistant work hard enough, maybe they will get below 400,000 viewers next week. If they need some assistance in failure, I'm sure Bomani Jones would be willing to help out. Have your producers reach out to the Bobo, book him on the show next week, and he will have you around 250,000 viewers in no time. Maybe the trio can discuss the lack of diversity on their panel and blame the white man for this huge embarrassing failure. But Wednesday night, there was some diversity on the show as Bob Costas joined Charlie and Gayle Queen. They were worshiping the Swiffer, and they had some harsh words for anyone who doesn't like the Great White Hope. But before I show you the clip, let's go ahead and get to the sponsor for today's video, my friends over at Ultimate Health and Wellness. As I've gotten older, especially as I've entered my late 30s, I've suddenly realized how important it is to exercise. And I'm not talking about exercise trying to look like Roger Royd with the massive deltoids. I'm talking about exercise just to feel good every day, live a healthy life. Problem for me, I don't like going to the gym, which is why I have started using Ultimate Health and Wellness. The programs offered by Ultimate Health and Wellness, they are perfect for me because everything is online and I can use the program when it's convenient for me. They have this interesting workout series called the Billy Sticks. This particular exercise, it is a 6-part series, and the best part about it, The Billy Sticks are dual purpose. You can use them to exercise, and if you're into martial arts, the Billy Sticks are great for self-defense. Ultimate Health and Wellness. They offer over 200 workouts that are good for all ages and fitness levels. Most workouts are about 30 minutes, which is really all you need to live a healthy lifestyle. If you want to bulk up and add some muscle, there are 20 different categories that are offered that will work you into shape. And if you're looking for the personal touch, Ultimate Health and Wellness. They offer one-on-one training over the internet with a coach who has over 20 years of experience. Click the link in the description below. Use my promo code BTL20 to receive 20% off your first purchase of the Billy Sticks program with Ultimate Health and Wellness. All right, Charlie and Bobby. They became the latest members of the mainstream media to proudly announce their membership in Club Swiffer. You know what's weird? The mainstream media, they are obsessing over this story. They are pretending like normal people are the problem. They are pretending like normal people are making this a big deal about Taylor Swift, when the reality is the media refuses to shut the hell up about it. Seriously, in your day-to-day life, how many people are talking about the pending nuptials between Tay-Tay and Travis? My Twitter feed, it is filled with Pelicans talk, pissed off Saints fans who are angry with Mickey Mouse restructuring the contract of Donnie Carr. The normal people I follow on Twitter, they're mostly talking about sports and politics. Most of the people in the mainstream media that I follow, they are obsessing over Taylor Swift. Charlie and Bobby, they sent a stern message to normal people Wednesday night on CNN. If you refuse to get with the program, if you refuse to love the Swiffer, you are a loser. Watch for yourself.
When Jack Nicholson was courtside for the Showtime Lakers, they took shots of him all the time.
Yes.
When the Yankees were doing great in the 90s, early 2000s, Jerry Seinfeld would be at the game sitting with Chris Rock. It's part of the scene.
If you're screaming at Taylor Swift saying she ruined her, you're just a loser. You're just a loser or a jackass. You can be A or B.
One of the two.
One of the two.
All of a sudden, because they don't like something about Taylor Swift, either they don't like the Chiefs or they've inferred that Taylor Swift might not be a Trumper, then they're annoyed by Taylor Swift. I can guarantee you that all this news on Fox News would not be happening if she was wearing a MAGA hat.
Yeah.
You see what I'm talking about now? You see what I mean when I say the media must be using the same playbook? Bob Costas repeated the same recycled garbage that we have heard from the rest of the media this week. Replace Bob Costas with the face of virginity, Mike Florio, it would be the same thing. Bobby repeated the same tired narrative about people not complaining about Jack Nicholson at Lakers games, people not complaining about Spike Lee at Knicks games. Like I told you guys the other day, the complaints about Taylor Swift have very little to do with Taylor Swift. People are complaining because they're tired of hearing about it. Taylor Swift has been the topic of conversation in the NFL throughout the season, and she doesn't even play in the league. Throughout the week, I have noticed that the media, they failed to mention the fact that the same people complaining about Taylor Swift are the same people complaining about Brittany Mahomes. They also complain about the dancing queen, Jackie Mahomes. Why? Because they insert themselves into the spotlight. They try to spill the spotlight away from the family cash cow. To her credit, Taylor Swift is far from guilty of doing the same thing, but the media, they're basically doing it for her. I will give Bob Costas credit for one thing, though. He was partially right as to why there is so much controversy with Taylor Swift. He mentioned that some of this hatred is caused by people hating the Kansas City Chiefs. Earlier this week, we talked about how this hatred for the Chiefs has been brewing for years now. NFL fans, they just needed a reason. This year, Jackie Mahomes, he wasn't able to give them a reason because his dancing was neutered. He wasn't allowed to shake his milkshake. He wasn't allowed to display his feminine side. The media's obsession with the Swiffers gave people the perfect reason to hate the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes added fuel to the ass fire by claiming that the Chiefs were victims of incompetent officiating. You guys remember that? When they were playing the Bills in the regular season and Kadarius Toney was lined up in the Bills secondary, Patty threw a touchdown to the male Swiffer and it was called back because Kadarius Toney was offsides. It was a legitimate call, but according to Patrick Mahomes, it was incompetent officiating. After Bob Costas made one good point, He fucked it up completely with his next point. I guarantee you, if Taylor Swift wore a MAGA hat, none of this would be happening. And I know because I'm Bob Costas. Excuse me? Come again? Did you just insinuate that if the Swiffer was a Trumper, there would be no controversy? There would be no outrage? Let me ask you something, Bobby. Where in the hell have you been the last 8 years? I know you're getting older. I'm sure the memory isn't as good as it used to be. So let's narrow it down to the last 4 years. Where in the hell have you been the last 4 years? If Taylor Swift was a Trump supporter, she probably wouldn't be allowed at NFL games. Instead of the media falling in love with her, they would be accusing her of mythical racism. The NFL is 70% black, and Taylor Swift is dating one of the only white players. That is so racist! They would be accusing the league of fixing the Super Bowl so a white head coach could win it. Remember when Tom Brady wore a MAGA hat? Think he did this when he was still playing in New England? How'd that work out for Tom Brady? Remember Nick Bosa? He was crucified by the mainstream media because he had the audacity to be a Trumper. His teammates were asked, what does it feel like to share a locker room with a white supremacist? When Nick Bosa tore his ACL, Mark Jones from ESPN, he basically celebrated the injury. Colby Covington in the UFC, he has been hated by the mainstream media for years because he supports Donald Trump. Do I need to keep going? I can't believe Bob Costas allowed that stupidity to escape his facial orifice. Bob Costas is a smart dude, but that was some dumb shit. This really isn't hard to understand, and this often happens anytime the mainstream media is united. The media was united around BLM, normal people rejected it. The media was united around defunding the police, normal people rejected it. Several years ago, the media was claiming that the NBA would overtake the NFL in popularity. Obviously, normal people proved that to be wrong. Speaking of the NBA, the media, they have been shoving the NBA in our face for years, yet for some reason, people still aren't watching. Same with the WNBA. Every summer, the mainstream media shamelessly promotes the dump, and every summer, the bucket seats in the dump are empty. This hatred has little to do with Taylor Swift. Contrary to what Gayle King says, most normal people could not give a fuck less about her relationship with Kelsey Swiffer. What this is really about is normal people once again refusing to buy what the mainstream media is selling. But give me your thoughts on this. Charles Barkley claims that you're a loser and a jackass if you don't support the Swiffer. Bob Costas says with a straight face, if the Swiffer were a Trumper, there wouldn't be any controversy. These people in the media, do you think they are given the same talking points? Why do you think they are so united around Taylor Swift? And more importantly, getting us to accept her? Give me your reasons. Sound off in the comments below. Like, subscribe, share the video. I appreciate your support. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys tomorrow.